Alright, in this video we're going to do the sensor mount. Since it is in inches, we're going to just start out with our blank sheet layout. And we'll draw it off to the side and get started. I'm going to start off with using the rectangle tool. I'm going to draw the rectangle at the base. And the size here is going to be in X, it's going to be 4 inches. In Y, it's going to be 1.5. So I'll use the relative input method and type 4 in X, comma 1.5 in Y. So that's going to be the base of the sensor mount. So I'm going to go ahead and start and draw a line from the midpoint up at a distance of 5.5 so I can locate the top of the sensor mount. This will be my center point for my circles that I'm given a radius, so I'm going to go center radius. The smallest one has a radius of 0.75, so I'll put my radius at 0.75. The larger circle has a radius of 1.5, so I'll snap at that center point and do a radius of 1.5. Now the hardest part about this is that getting this arc in here. So we're given the arc radius of 3.5. That arc goes through this endpoint and it's tangent to this circle. But what we don't know is we don't know where the center's at. We need to locate that center. Here's how I do it. I'm going to go to Circle, Center Radius, snap to this endpoint, and draw a 3.5 radius circle. So we have that distance right here. We need another location along this arc on where the center point's at so we can work back. So what we'll do is we'll take this distance right here from this center out as 1.5 plus an additional 3.5 is 5 inches. So we're going to draw a circle, center radius, that has a 5-inch radius circle, and right here is where our center point's going to be at for this arc. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle center radius, and I need to use the intersection snap to grab a hold of that from my center point. So I'm going to type my radius of 3.5, and I want you to notice that this arc goes right through this point, comes up, and it's tangent to that circle. So now I can go ahead and delete my guidelines here, my guide circles I can call it. Hit delete, and I'm left with this. I'm not going to trim that out just yet, because what I understand is that there's another arc in here that I need to use this center point for. So I can just do that right now. Let's go ahead and go center radius. I'm going to use this center point to grab a hold of, and I'm going to type a radius of 4.25. And that is the radius of the inside arc. Okay. Now I can go ahead and trim the outside. So I can trim, select that, select that, select that, and we can trim it out. All right. Now let's build this inside. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line to make it better visual here. I'll delete that out of the way. I'm going to draw a line starting from this midpoint. I'm going to go up the distance of 2.25. Hit enter. And then I'm just going to draw a line a little bit longer than what that arc is, and I'll trim it out later. All right. Now, what we want to do is clean it up a little bit. We'll trim this, and this. Clean this up. All right. Now, my next tool that I'm going to use is going to be the mirror tool. And watch what I do here. So I'm going to use the mirror tool. And I'm going to choose this arc, this line, and this arc to mirror. Hit enter and choose the center point here and mirror it over and hit enter again. Okay. Next thing I need to do is trim a bunch of stuff here. So let's go ahead and trim all this out. And we'll delete this line out of here for now. Okay, so that is the sensor mount so far. We're going to finish putting these holes in, and then the object itself will be complete. So I'm going to go ahead and go center diameter this time. Snap to this midpoint. I'm going to draw a diameter of 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this circle up 0.75. And then I'm going to move it over to the left 1 inch, and then I'm going to go to copy. I'm going to copy it over 2 inches, and escape out of that. All right, next thing I'm going to do is now that I have my sensor mount object completely constructed, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my sheet layout. So let me draw my diagonal line for my centering line. Draw another line. This one here doesn't have to be on a diagonal. It's going to go from that midpoint to the base. And basically all I need to do is grab a hold of this midpoint. Grab that midpoint and grab this midpoint. Delete those guidelines. Get them out of the way. And there we have the sensor mount centered up in the sheet layout. Let me go ahead and update my title block text here now. I can make this the sensor mount, all caps. And make sure I move it in the center. Figure number is going to be, this is still chapter 2, CH2. Why that's changing on me, but we're going to make it CH2-4. This is the 4th drawing in chapter 2. I don't like to have a period in there. The scale is going to be 1 inch equals 1 inch. 1 inch equals 1 inch. And I'm going to move this over to center it. And then I'm going to want you to adjust your date and then your period. All right. So the next thing we want to do is put our dimensions in here. So I'm going to start off with my radius dimensions. And I'm going to put a radius dimension in here. I'm going to put a radius dimension over here. Notice it puts the center mark in for me. That's what we want. Radius dimension in here. Radius dimension in here. Except for I don't like how that is. I'm going to move that 3.5. I'm going to move that up a little bit. Okay. That's better. And move this up a little bit. It's not moving because my object snaps turned on. Okay. Move this in some. All right. So let's continue. Put some. I'll put a diameter dimension down here. Diameter. And since I'm not going to put a dimension on that circle, I still want a center mark. Go up to dimension. Go to center mark. And go ahead and drop your own center mark in there. All right, let's put some linear dimensions in. Let's go to linear. And let's go put our object snap back on. Turn that on. Snap from here all the way down to the bottom and come out. Go to linear again. We're going to put a linear from here to here. Come across. I'm going to put a linear over here. Drag that out. We're going to do a linear dimension here. Drag it out this way. Make sure there's enough room for everything. Down at the bottom, this one's going to be tricky. It's very tight, but it will fit. So you got to spend the time, make sure it fits. So drop this 4 down. We're going to get as close as we can. I do not want it to touch down here. Okay, now we're going to put a line going down the center because we're going to need it anyways for the center line. I'm going to snap up here and I'm going to snap here. Okay, and let's go ahead and put a linear dimension in from here to here. And I want you to see that it's going to crowd this 4. And I don't want that. So let's grab that 4. Get that blue grip and stretch it, move it over to the right so that there's room. Okay? There's a little bit of room here. It's not touching. I don't want it to touch. Okay? All right. I think that's about all of the linear dimensions, but I need to make sure I get a gap up here at the center mark. Drop that down 0.0625. So I have a lot of other center lines I need to put in around these circles and around here. So that's what I'm going to hurry up and do. Put these center lines in. Snap from here to here. Send that 1/4 inch, 0.25 above. Grab this blue grip and drag that up 0.0625. Same over here. Another center line. Snap from here to there. Drag that over 0.25. Hit enter. Drag this over 0.0625. Hit enter. Okay, so that's center lines up there. We're going to get center lines down on the bottom 2 holes. Go to line. Snap from here to here. Drag that out 0.25. Drag this up 0.0625. Okay, come over here, same thing, 0.25, drag this up 0.0625, same over here, drag this out 0.25, drag this out 0.0625. Okay, now look on the bottom here. If I snap this here and I drag this down 0.25, you'll see that it lines up perfectly there. Break this over just a little bit so that you can tell that it's center line, it's sticking out. Drop this down 0.0625. We're going to bring a line going across here. Get our gaps. Drag this back 0.0625. Drag this back 0.0625. All right, now one last thing we need to do here is this center line needs to be broke up some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my little trim boundaries that I taught you in class. I'm going to make a horizontal this time. So what we're going to do is copy this line. We're going to copy it down 1/16 of an inch, 0.0625. Hit escape. Then I'm going to copy this line down 1/8 of an inch, which is 0.125. Hit escape. I'm going to copy this line down 0.0625 or 1/16 of an inch. So you should have 4 lines. The top 2 lines should have a spacing of 1/16. The middle should have a spacing of 1/8. And the bottom should have a spacing of 1/16. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to move. And I'm going to move this. And this is rare for me to say. I'm going to turn off my ortho. That F8 doesn't work on here. So I'm going to turn it off down here. Turn it off my object snap. Turn off my ortho. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to eye it up. This is what I don't say very often in CAD. So we're going to eye it up right here. And then I'm going to go to copy. And I'm going to eye up another set down here. Okay. Let's go to trim. And click that little space out of there. 1/16 gap. Okay. Now I can go ahead and delete these little trim boundaries. And you're left with your gap right here. So that's, your center line and a gap, and down here. Okay. So that should all be good. I'm going to come over here and zoom extents. That is the sensor mount. So yes, this is the sensor mount. Everything should be good. Make sure you save it. Go File, Save As, Sensor Mount. And thanks for watching.